that I want to share with everybody. So it looks like that I see Misty is here. Are you on a computer? We just cameras off.
I'm on the computer and the phone because I'll have to get on, just be on the phone in about 15 minutes. So yes, I'm on.
That's okay. That's great. Who else do we have with us?
You have Rick.
Hey, Rick. Nice to see you again. Hear from you.
Good to be seen.
Yeah. And who else? Last person.
That's it, Andros, because Misty's on two.
Got it. Okay, so we got Rick and Misty. Okay, very good.
Oh, there we go. We got Marla just joined us.
Oh, okay. Hey, Marla. So cool to have you join in. Okay, so first of all, we're going to send everybody the new ebook. This is version 1 of the ebook that is going to go over each section of our of your profile to really highlight kind of the sections, like the importance of it. I want to start off this call just simply talking about the idea of mastery, if that's okay with everyone, just for a moment, because when we chose the name, the Link Mastery course, it was no accident. It was mostly because we wanted to really convey this idea of what mastery is. Has anybody read the book by Robert Greene called Mastery?
No.
I highly, highly recommend it. Mastery is a book about essentially the 10,000 hours it takes to become a master at something. And so a master isn't necessarily someone who follows one particular study. The true masters are people who have taken lots of different studies and put them together to create their own thing, to create their own place in the world that is their state of mastery. So Robert Greene, I again highly recommend this book. If audiobooks are great too. Also wrote The 48 Laws of Power, which is another book that I highly, highly recommend. But essential reading in my mind, especially it's a nice companion piece as we move forward through the next few calls. And basically, the idea of mastery is that whatever you are in life, right, is a culmination of all those things that have melded together to create your own state of mastery. And so each of you are definitely a master in that particular thing. So one of the things that I really want to kind of touch on with this is about your headline, the thing that goes right underneath your name on LinkedIn. Because this sentence, which is only 2 very small lines, has to in some way culminate with what your mastery is. And once you do that, then everything clicks into place. Because the biggest question that we always get with this is, well, what if I did a bunch of different things and I switched careers? The main point with your profile is that it tells the story of how those things put together gave you parts of the skills that led to your own individual mastery in life. Does that all make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the idea here is that I want to really put some focus on the idea that each of you are masters, are absolute masters in what you do. And therefore you are sought after. And one of the things that I've always believed in is this idea of when you put something in writing, it helps to make it absolutely real. And so the places you have been in life, whether it's other jobs or other experiences with organizations, all of those things help to develop who you are on that level. So as we go down each of these things, and this is kind of the point of the ebook, and again, we'll be having other versions of it, and we really want your feedback on this book as well, because this is kind of, we're going to be doing, each unit is going to have one of these books. So the more that you get out of it and the more feedback you give us, the better we're going to make it ultimately for yourself and anyone else who decides to join us. So what I just kind of want you to think about before we really dive in here is, what is that state of mastery you're in currently, right? That if you were to find the ideal job right now where that person is looking for you and they're desperately trying to find you, what would you tell them that it is that you do? So it's the puzzle piece that fits together with that company or with that business partnership. So that's kind of my rant on that level. But I just want us to feel empowered, so we know that we can really tap into what that mastery is for each one of us, and tell that story through our profile.
Great.
So, any feedback on any of that? Anybody have any comments about what you've experienced so far with this?
Yeah, I do. Aren't you surprised? Would you give an example of like your guys' mastery title? I mean, I think it's on your LinkedIn, but maybe developing it.
Yeah, let me go ahead and I will, let me get my profile up here, and then I'll go ahead and share my screen. And all right, so okay, so one of the things, and I'll just tell you about kind of the evolution of my particular my profile. And for those of you, I'll talk my way through it for those of you who aren't on the computer right now. But basically, there's a picture of me, and then underneath my name, it says Chief Marketing Officer of MobiTrader. And I feel very, I'm very proud of that, because it's I still am doing work for myself, but now I have a C-level position that I didn't create for myself, right? Someone actually recognized my skills and hired me. And the way that they hired me was they looked at my LinkedIn profile. That was one of the main things. And so the next thing I put after it says Chief Marketing Officer of MobiTrader, the next thing it says is Search Engine Optimization, SEO/SEM Marketing Specialist. And I specifically put SEO/SEM Marketing Specialist because LinkedIn every year, and this is included in the ebook, they give a list of the top jobs that companies are looking for. And one of those top jobs was SEO/SEM Marketing Specialist. For the longest time, I had a headline that said Video Marketing Jedi. And that was like the dumbest thing ever for a number of reasons. because video marketing is not something that people are looking for. They're looking for content creators. And so this is one of those things where the way that you language what you do can help to make or break your ultimate connection with someone else, whether it's for a job or for business. So, and I put Video Marketing Jedi, which I thought was cute, but we're now at the stage where anybody who calls themselves a guru or a ninja or a Jedi, anything like that, it looks kind of idiotic, right? So it's a little overplayed. So I took that out. Instead of having Video Marketing Jedi, I realized that Search Engine Optimization and Search Engine Marketing Specialists were far more in demand. So I put that as my headline. Public speaker, I put that because it's something that a lot of companies are also looking for. So if you have any public speaking experience on any level, you really want to put that here, because it shows that you can command an audience and that you have charisma, and every company and business person wants that in another person, right? So it's a neat little thing to put there. And then I put founder of Star Child Interactive, because that's my company, and so I like the idea of that more than CEO. So and then so that's kind of summary. So just to read it back to you, it says Chief Marketing Officer of MobiTrader, comma, SEO/SEM Marketing Specialist, comma, public speaker, comma, founder of Star Child Interactive. And when I finally finish writing my book, which I will one day, I'm going to remove one of these things and put a published author. So, it's the summary of what, like, if you meet me for any of these things, I'm a wizard, right? If I put like cleaning my room on here, that I would get an F. So, so you really want to, it's really just like, that's your zone of genius. Everything is sums up to this. Justin, do you have anything to add to any of this?
No, I think that's pretty comprehensive right there. I mean, the only other thing is that we can use some tools now to actually go in and search, not with LinkedIn directly, but with like Google. We can go in and see what people are searching for in Google, and we can get an idea of how much traffic is going to certain search terms. And based on that, we might see that people are searching for public speakers more so than they're searching for keynote speakers or something like that. So depending on the actual language that's being searched through Google, we might want to adjust our profiles that way too.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But you get I hope you understand. It's just really like that kind of chunk of line underneath your name. It really is like, and it's all got to be consistent towards one specific thing, right? So you can't be schizophrenic about it. This is the head of the pin, if you will. So anyway, how many people were able to go in and kind of beef up their LinkedIn profiles a little bit? Did people kind of do that?
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, what we're hoping is that we really want to give you guys assignments. And so I think that this guide is going to help you do that. So Justin's going to send it to everybody after the call. And what we want to do is really, it's just kind of as a mental exercise. I want you to really like think of you as a character in a story, right? You're like you're the underdog who's trying to make it. And so your story is like these sequence of events that happen to lead you to this particular place. So I want, and I'm saying this to myself as well, because I always look over my profile and I try and tweak it occasionally. So really give yourself that and allow yourself to be in what those things were, and try to language those past experiences with whatever jobs those were in a way that it leads to a pathway that anyone can kind of look at it and go, oh, I can see why they ended up at this particular place. So anyway, that's kind of, I just wanted to sum that up. And then we're going to touch on a little bit about building your network and just talk a little bit about that, because that this is kind of the next step in the evolution of like how you really can rock LinkedIn. Justin, do you have anything to add?
As to which part?
anything at all, or anybody else have anything they want to go over, any issues they've been, or questions or anything about that?
I do.
Okay.
So I sent you guys those videos. So I had author in my LinkedIn, and I don't know if it was helping or hurting. I got one interviewer, he said, wow, I brought you in because I saw that you wrote a book, and I thought it was really cool. And then it turned out to be not a really good position. So I don't know if your authorship or your speaking engagements aren't directly linked to your area of focus. Then do you leave it on there because it shows that you have the capability and can obviously do that in another situation, or does it need to be specific? I mean, I know last time you told me, Andres, that maybe I should create a PowerPoint and then do a little video to it, and I'm working on that, but I don't know if putting author of a book that has nothing to do with marketing, if I'm going after marketing jobs, does anything for my credibility.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Say that you're an author. I mean, it doesn't matter if that you wrote it about the shapes of your scabs over a 10-year period. It's the fact that you wrote a book, right? That you finished something and you put it out there. And yes, absolutely. Believe it or not, I've had several people who have been interested in me professionally. They look at my TED Talk, which has nothing to do with marketing, and they tell me like, yeah, I saw your TED Talk and that was really cool, right? So So any way that you could put yourself out there and or you have something like that, even if it's a little more obscure, sometimes even if it is obscure, it could be interesting. The only reason why I mentioned, and for those of you, just so you know, I had Misty send me some videos that she did, and although she had an amazing presence, and you were definitely like the funny one in these videos that you did, I think that that's too outside of there wasn't enough going on there, and I feel that was too outside of your, because it was about getting out of debt, like it was about women talking about debt, and I think from a marketing perspective that might be a little off, but you can definitely talk about the fact that you've done that as a project and in the lower sections, and then you can add links to that project.
So create it as a project, and okay, well, I don't know if I should just talk to you offline about that, or because I'm a little.
Yeah, we can talk later. That's okay. I mean, by all means, let's get the conversation.
No, Misty, I would just add to that too, that by having that published author, it sounds like you actually got a connection from it, or you got into a live one-on-one interaction because you had that on your profile. So that's what we're looking for. So ultimately, they may have been looking for someone that wrote a marketing book, and that may not have been the key there. But the fact that you actually got into the one-on-one conversation, I mean, that's where once you start those conversations, then usually all bets are off as far as what's on your profile. At that point, it's on you to sell yourself. And the more of those conversations you start up, the more likely you are to get your job or your gig or whatever you're looking for.
And bear in mind also that once you really flesh out your LinkedIn profile, I'm talking like really pay attention to it and fill it out, where you really again, we talked about the Glassdoor technique last week. And this is where you go to glassdoor.com, you look up your dream jobs, you look at the requirements, you just start stealing some of those requirements and putting them in the profile, either of what your state of mastery is or what you learned to master at those previous positions. And so once you lay that all out, it gives you a script of sorts that you can follow. So when you do go in for either an interview or to do a business deal with someone, you can always refer back to your LinkedIn profile, which supports your argument anyway, right? So it's just a way to get all of that congruent, so you really have it laid out in front of you as well. So you could use it as a tool. And if somebody wants links to your portfolio, you can have that on your LinkedIn profile and just send them there. And everything, it's like very clear to people. So anything to add, Justin?
Not as far as that. Okay. What do you want to get into next? Are we talking about networking, or are we talking about
so the next, so basically unit one, which we're basically are doing now, just getting done with that, and go over the ebook, and I'm going to have an ebook for each of these units, and then basically the next part of this growing your LinkedIn presence will be definitely your network. And so we talked about the idea of growing your network through various techniques, specifically like just friending as many people as possible. But one of the things that's really important about building your network is that if you can build your network far enough, then when you start to really put yourself out there, you have a much larger to do that. And there's a thing that Justin and I like to talk about called the rule of 7, where you have to, in marketing, you have to see something 7 times before you make a decision or interact with it. And so by continuously interacting with different groups, business groups, then people start to see your face more and more. And because the first place that you go to when you log into LinkedIn is going to be your home screen, which has the news feed, much like Facebook. And the first things you're going to see are the people who are posting the most, like the influencers, if you will. And so the more that people log into Facebook and the more that you post, your stuff is going to show up towards the top. So it's a good way for you just to be seen. And then when somebody does engage with you, there's going to be this unconscious sort of thing that they're familiar with you on some level. So this is one of the reasons that it's really good to engage with LinkedIn on a regular basis and post things. And later on, we're going to tell you how there's some techniques that we use to automate posting. so you can post on a regular basis without having to actually do anything. So we'll go over some of those techniques later on. But as far as joining your network, so when you hit, there's a button on the top of LinkedIn that's My Network. When you hit that, then it pops up a whole bunch of different people that you can randomly connect to. So, you could just start hitting these buttons, and what it'll do is it'll send them an automatic connect to these persons. And when you connect to one person, then you connect to their entire network. So one of the things that and we'll just touch on this again, is the Lion networks. Do you want to talk about that, Justin?
We talked about it last week, but the Lion, again, just a reminder to everybody, that's an acronym for LinkedIn Open Networker. And the reason that you want to connect with as many of those people as possible is that you're expanding your reach. As we talked about last week, LinkedIn is all based on degrees of separation. And by connecting to one LinkedIn Open Networker that has, say, 25,000, 50,000 connections of their own, you're automatically bringing in all of their connections into your second degree network instantly, which is a way of kind of bringing everybody together in a very fast method.
So if there's one person that has a ring of people around them, and you have a ring of people around you, basically when you connect to that other person, your ring gets exponentially larger. And so anyway, does anybody have any questions about connecting with people or anything like that?
Nope.
Maybe this is dumb, but I don't.
No.
How do you know if they're a lion again? Is it that circle I'm seeing?
Oh, no.
Circles?
They put it in their profile. So remember, that's what they put in their headline usually, is that they put that.
Oh.
So if you search, so I'm going to go into the search bar right here, and I'm just going to type.
Why don't you show how to search different ways by person, by industry, by all that?
Yeah. So the search. This is one of the things that's really absolutely stunning about LinkedIn. Also, is that if I want to look for somebody, their search engine is very finite. So you could look for, if I look for lion, it gives me all, but I can look for just people that have lion in their title. And so just those people will come up. I could look for jobs with the name lion in it. So, whatever, or I could look for jobs, and this is when you get into the job seeker, but I can look into like marketing jobs, right? Within LinkedIn itself, the search engine. In the United States, and then it shows, so I looked up jobs that have marketing in it in the United States, and there's 500,000 jobs that showed up. And so I can drill that down from the United States down to like cities or regions or countries. And so, this gets into, we're not going to cover the section, but again, this starts to dip into how the fact that you can look for a job anywhere in the world and find a way to get there. And this was the biggest eye-opening experience for me, is that we live in a world now where you can do what you do and do it anywhere. So just food for thought on that. But if you are looking, say, for specific people, so I'm going to go into the search engine, and I'm going to hit people as a filter, and I want to look up just CMOs, for instance, chief marketing officers, because maybe I want to connect with the chief marketing officer of a different company, and just they start to see who I am. I can also look for CEOs, and in fact, I'll give you a true story. This happened to me. I looked up CEOs. I got a list, and then what I did was I started searching just in the UK. So I went to locations, and I went to the United Kingdom, and I looked up CEOs just in the United Kingdom. And what happened was I got this huge list of CEOs that showed up, and I started connecting with them. And one of them was a CEO of this company called Sendable, which is a social media platform that looks really great. It looks really, really great. But he saw me reach out to him. He says, "Hey, I'm looking for a CMO." And then we just started having a conversation about what that would look like. I don't know if that would happen or not, but it doesn't matter. The fact that I can suddenly have these kinds of conversations with people based on seeking them out and connecting with them. And then, this goes back to going back to my profile. When he sees my profile, which a CEO is going to do, he's going to look at my profile and go, who is this guy? The first thing he's going to see is that I'm the chief marketing officer of another company, and I'm a search engine optimization and search engine marketing specialist. So he makes that connection, and he said, hey, I'm looking for someone just like you. So does this all make sense of like why you expand your network, how you target people? Then, you have your,
Can you go back in the search there and just show them how to use the filters there, like how you can filter between like first, second, third degree, just the basics on the filtering there too?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to go and I'm going to look for people. I'm going to go do a people search, and I'm going to search for CEOs, right? So people with the title CEO in their name. And I'm going to go to, there's a little section here that says first. So if I click on that, that's all the people I'm already connected to. If I go to second, then those are the people that are in that person I know connected to that person. Does that make sense? So that's at second degree. And then I can also connect to third degree connections. So what that will do is if I look for just second degree connections, for instance, and I look up CEOs that are second degree connections, one of the things that I can say when I reach out to that person is, hey, we have 12 connections in common. Would you mind adding me to your network? Right? So it gives you a way to engage in that conversation. Now, in about 2 weeks, we're going to talk about, and you can go into the back end of the course and look this up anyway, but we go over this thing called Duck Soup. And Duck Soup is a plugin for Chrome that will allow you to automatically reach out and connect with people. So we have a whole section just on Duck Soup. So I encourage you to look that up because it will automate this process, and you could reach out to hundreds of people in a given day and give them each a personalized message when you reach out to them. And
the main thing I would just want to add here is if you're looking to expand your network, obviously you want to filter out the first degree connections because those are people you're already connected to. So if you're looking to expand, you'd want to look at your second and third degree connections and then start connecting with people. If you're looking to start conversations, you might want to only filter by your first degree connections because you're only able to private message your first degree network. So if you wanted to send out a pre-scripted kind of message, which has pros and cons to doing that, I think that's kind of becoming very overplayed these days on the way people are doing it. But if you want to do that, you might want to filter by first degree connection, and you might want to go kind of one by one and start messaging people that you're already connected to. And then again, you can filter by keyword by just whatever you're searching for. So you could search within your first degree network for CEOs and then start messaging them with your message. So that's kind of why you'd want to filter there. And then the other filter tool that we use a lot is going to be the location tab. If you're in California here, you're not going to be able to filter directly by city. You can't filter by zip code or city on the free version of LinkedIn, but you can filter by the greater areas. And so they have greater Los Angeles area is one, greater San Diego area is one, and I think I forget, I think it might be Santa Barbara, the next cutoff there. But you'd have to kind of play with it and look through. But if you want to search for if you wanted to search Orange County, you're not able to do that directly. If you wanted to search Ventura, you're not able to do that directly. You can only search by greater Los Angeles area. And that's one of the reasons why the paid version becomes more attractive also, is because that adds in the functionality to search detailed.
Right. And so, sometimes you do, it works to do stuff with a wide shotgun. Just to give you a little story, I want to talk about what happened to me when I got my current position. Has anybody heard this story yet? Have I talked about this story about how I got my current position? Anybody?
Say it again. Right. The reinforcement is wonderful.
Okay, well, thank you, Marla. So basically, what happened was I wanted to get a job here in the Netherlands because my wife is Dutch, and I just thought it would be cool to live in Europe for a while. So what happened was I looked in, first I went into LinkedIn and I looked at anybody I was connected to in the Netherlands, and I had zero connections in the Netherlands, zero. So I was like, okay, I had a few months before I was going to land, so I knew I had to get in there and start that process. So what I did was I started doing a search for anyone in a second degree network who was working in the Netherlands. And I started connecting to each of those people, saying that we had one person in common. And I went down an entire list of people, and it was a very short list. But then what I did immediately after that was I did the same search for second degree connections in the Netherlands. And all of a sudden, that list was a lot larger because I connected to a few people who then connected me to their second degree network. And so I just started growing that more and more until I had actually several hundred people who were here in the Netherlands. And so once I got here and I had a job lined up, again, I found that through LinkedIn. But once I got here and I interviewed for that job, I realized it wasn't quite for me. Specifically, like my boss would have been 23 years old, and I would have been like, honestly, the oldest guy there. It was kind of weird, very young company. It was great. I mean, to have that experience, except yeah, it was just, I don't think it was a match. But in that same time, this guy that I kept reaching out to more and more CEOs. And one of the guys that I reached out to was this guy who had an app that is called MobiTrader. And he said, hey, I'm looking for someone with your skills. Can you do these things? And he gave me a whole list. And I was like, I can do like 80% of those, and the other 20% I can learn. And I said, hey, most of that stuff is in my wheelhouse. Let's have a conversation. So next thing you know, I'm on a train and I go out there and I meet with him, and he pretty much hires me immediately with more money than I would have been making at the other job anyway. And I get total freedom. It's like my dream job. So the point is that the reason that happened, that opportunity happened, was because I specifically started connecting with CEOs in the Netherlands, just everywhere in the Netherlands. And that guy, just like at that particular moment, he saw my headline. He was like, I need a guy like that. Read my stuff. He was like, this guy seems perfect. Reached out to me, and boom, I like had the job almost immediately. And I know this can be replicated. I do. So this is why, the main thing I just kind of want to touch up on, and that pretty much sums up everything about growing your network and your LinkedIn profile, is that these two things go hand in hand, and you never know when opportunity will strike, because it could be that very moment that someone's thinking, I got to get someone with these skills, you ping on someone's radar, and because you're putting the effort in. So the more you put the effort into maintaining this thing and like a machine, the more you're putting yourself out there, and the more likelihood of you getting pinged for something amazing starts to go up exponentially, right? Because if you're putting the effort out there, something's going to hit eventually. So does anybody have any questions about any of this stuff, or any other questions about anything social media related even?
No, it all makes sense.
Okay. Groovy. Well, that pretty much, I mean, it looks like we can end early tonight, because I have that pretty much sums it up. And what I want everyone to do for next week is I really, really want you to look over the document. I put a lot of work into this document, so we're going to send it to you now. And I really want you to look at it and tell us, A, what you think of the document. Honest feedback is welcome. And then B, like kind of how you fill that in. We want you to really do that, because believe me, once you put all of that together, then everything else will fall into place. If you're having any trouble, contact us, write to us. This is an open dialogue while we're doing this, so you will not be bugging us. This is our job, is to take you through this process. So any questions?
Before we wrap up here, let's open it up. As far as questions related to anything, so let's not leave it on the topic that we covered right now. Are there any questions related to anything that's been covered so far, or even things that haven't been covered yet, but you're already running into because you're getting ahead? It's okay.
I have a question. I remember you're talking about changing your titles in the list of jobs so that they make more sense and are more creative and more in alignment. How do you go about doing that?
Well, it's mostly just going into Glassdoor and looking at the job listings and finding things that jump out at you. Just start, it's a search engine, so just start searching for your ideal jobs and just start really looking at oh, I would love to work for Facebook and I could probably do that. That might be something I can do. And then look at the list of requirements. And even if there's one thing on there that you're like, oh, I could do that, take that one thing and then put it in your profile.
Okay.
Right.
And is that glassdoor.com or something?
Yeah, it's glassdoor.com. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so glassdoor.com, it's basically a job search engine, but what we're doing is we're reverse engineering what they're using in their job listings already. So we're looking for skill sets, we're looking for that information, and then we're kind of reintegrating that into our profile so that we're fitting what they're looking for. They're telling us what they want. We're adding that into the profile.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Anyway, so listen, any other questions, feel free to contact us, write to us, message us on LinkedIn. We want this to be very valuable to you and other people. So obviously, as we move forward, we'd love to hear your feedback or anything that you think that we should cover or not covering enough. This is a conversation more than anything else. So with that, if there's no more questions, Justin, you have anything to add?
Well, if we're gonna wrap up, that's fine. I think let's just talk about next week. So next week we're gonna dive into the content section. So we will actually go into how you can automate content on your profiles. We're going to show you a couple different tools for automating the content. And then I'm going to show you a couple of ways of actually leveraging what's already trending in social media. So there are tools out there that will tell you, if you look up a certain topic, it'll share articles that are trending in that topic. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to grab those articles and how to leverage those to get additional views on your profile.
Okay, I actually have a question. It's Misty.
Yeah.
So before next week, so I did not have a chance to actually do all of the work that I got to do, changing my background photo and a couple of my titles. I need to go onto Glassdoor, and part of it's because I haven't really decided what title I want to go after. And the other part of it is I get a little nervous about saying, I'm 80% at ability to do certain things, and then I get a little nervous about fudging the rest. And I know you're not saying fudge, but so I haven't gone on and added those skill sets yet. So for next week, do we need, in order to be on top of it, what do we actually need to have accomplished?
Well, I really want you to fill in your LinkedIn profile, like really fill it in.
Okay.
And just follow the steps. It's a 15-step guide. Just follow each step. Just go through it. Have a glass of wine, listen to good music, do your thing, and then just
9 a.m. in the U.S. Andro, it's just 9 a.m. in the U.S. It's not evening like for you.
That's okay. I start early.
Yeah, glass of wine, 9 a.m. Pour it on my Cheerios. But I just want to address one last thing and about the languaging because I'm going to repeat back to you what you just said to me, which is if I only know 80% of something, I don't want to fudge the rest, right? And so you don't feel comfortable with that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, kind of. I'll tell you why. So I had a short gig working with an SEO company. There's so much to SEO, my mind almost exploded. But I learned so much, and I feel like I have kind of a working knowledge, but I don't feel like I could say SEO expert. Do you know what I mean? But it's something that I can definitely learn. So I don't really know how to put it in there. And it was a short gig.
You put it in there as the skills that you have. And you whatever those skills were, you put those skills, even if the skill is 30%, you now are probably 30% better than the guy that would hire you or the woman who would hire you. Right. So if you're 30% better than they are, and you have these other skills, and you go, well, I could get to at least 50% by the time I actually start, because I'll go onto LinkedIn Learning and I'll learn this stuff. And a lot of it's trial and error. You got to just trial and error your way through it anyway. So I would encourage you to not worry about the 80%, and even if you have 20% more than the average person, that's still more than the average person.
Yeah, and as
so
far as,
then just one last.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say one last technical question about that. And if I'm presenting myself, obviously I'm not working for that company, and it would go under my consulting services. So would I make it just a short bullet point saying SEO and content management, for blah, blah, blah company? Or would I just put it as a skill in that little basket at the bottom?
No, put it as what you learned at that company. Think about did you ever see The Princess Bride?
Yeah.
Okay, so he became the Dread Pirate Roberts over a period of time because he would learn certain things throughout his experience there on the pirate ship, and that's how he became the Dread Pirate Roberts and took it over from the other Dread Pirate Roberts. So this is like whenever you're on one of these jobs, it's like those are the skills that you're picking up: fencing, fighting, whatever anybody wants to teach you at that particular time. So you have to frame it more like I was at this company, and while I was there, I did these things and learned all this stuff, right? And then I was here and I learned all this stuff. So each one of those starts packing your skill sets in a way that you can say, now I can claim I'm this, because even the Dread Pirate Roberts, he could use a sword, but I'm sure like a scimitar he'd be a little off with. So
think of it as like you're creating a narrative. You're creating a narrative to your end goal. So let's say your end goal is you want to be an SEO expert. So then you're gonna go back through all of your other job experience, and you're gonna see how you can tailor the description to fit how the skills that were relevant now to you becoming an SEO expert. So it's like I want to focus mainly on those things from my prior jobs, because now my narrative that I'm wanting to tell is that this experience led me to becoming this. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So keep asking yourself, and then we'll close out here. But just keep asking yourself, what is my true mastery? And I want you to think about that as a mantra, like even just today, like just let that radiate in your head a little bit. What is my true mastery? And by the end of the day, I just want you to change the conversation a little bit to change that question to my mastery is. And even start there. My mastery is, and hear what comes back at you. And whatever that thing is, we're getting on the esoteric tip here, but you already know the answer to this. And so allow the universe to guide you, if you will. So what is your mastery? And just state, my mastery is, and even if you don't hear anything yet, just keep saying that. Eventually something will fill in that blank.
That sounds wonderful. One question, you keep referring to an ebook or to a handout. Is this what Justin's going to be sending, or have you sent something already?
We will send it, yeah.
Yeah, Justin's going to send it like probably later today.
Okay, thank you.
So keep an eye open for it.
Thank you.
All right. With that, please contact us if you have any questions. Thank you again for being part of this great experience. We love doing this. We love it. And so we really, really appreciate you joining the call and putting the effort. And, please do the work. And we'll check up on you during the week. So.
And then next week will be content marketing. So next week we're going to be doing content marketing. And again, and back to Misty's question there about these things don't necessarily require one to be done in a certain sequential order. They're all kind of stacking on top of each other. So it's okay to not be completely done with your profile to tackle the content marketing section next week.
Yeah, and no, just put something down, because you can always edit it later. I edit my thing all the time. So just like if you can't think of it, just put something there, even if you hate it.
Okay, thanks guys.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And happy Thanksgiving to you all from the Netherlands.
Oh, yeah. Yes, happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Bye.
Bye bye.